if you keep sending emails and you keep going to the next one, just brush off the unopened emails, brush off the no's, and keep going. Someone's going to say yes eventually.
I am super excited today to feature one of my students, Alyssa Walsh. Alyssa is here with me, and she took Start Your Surface Pattern Business in October of 2022 and worked through the course. And then I was lucky enough to have her in my coaching container called Surface Pattern Biz Builders. So we were able to work a little bit more closely together. And I'm so excited to talk to Alyssa about her work because I've just been seeing it develop over the past year and a half, and I'm really excited. So, hi Alyssa, how are you?
Good. How are you?
I am good. Can you give people a brief intro about who you are, the type of design you do, and when you got into surface design?
Yeah, I found the world, like the whole world of surface pattern design, after my daughter was born, because we used cloth diapers, and I was like, hey, someone drew that. And it kind of, I think everyone sort of has that like click moment. Um, and so that was pretty much mine. And so a lot of my designs are for kids. I'm always, at the end of the day, I'm designing for my daughter, really. And so I'm always thinking about like, oh, what can I put on a cute little dress for my daughter, or like little toddler leggings. I just love all the cute little baby and kids stuff. And so that's sort of my area that I design for.
I love that. And your daughter is like 2 or 3 now, so you
She's
basically
almost 3. She'll be 3 in 2 weeks now,
oh my
if you
goodness,
can
they grow up
believe that.
so fast.
You've
Yes.
known her almost her whole life too.
I know, right? Exactly. So let's talk about Start Your Surface Pattern Business. What was one of the most valuable things you took away from that course?
I have to fight the temptation to not say just everything. The whole thing is the most valuable thing.
I appreciate
There's
that.
no extra fluff in there. And it's exactly what you need to know from start to finish to start your surface pattern business.
Aptly
Um,
named.
yeah. But I think too, another big part of that is just your attitude about the whole thing. And along with the not having any fluff, you make everything so easy and like step by step. And the whole idea of done is better than perfect, and putting the perfectionism to the side and just getting it done little bits at a time. And then before you know it, you're there.
Yes, it's true. One little step at a time. I love that. Yeah, well, thank you very much. Yeah, I think the little steps are so important and but let's just get to it, right? That's that's the thing. Get right to it. Um, what has been you've been working really hard. So, you really just came into the idea of surface design basically 2 years ago, not even really. And in Start Your Surface Pattern Business, I don't teach how to design. So clearly you came with some illustration skills, with some pattern skills, you came to the table. But I've just been seeing your work grow, and I've been seeing your business grow and your connections grow. And it's been so exciting for me. What has been your biggest transformation since taking the course?
Yeah, I definitely didn't start from nowhere like a year ago.
Right.
I've been painting watercolors since I was about 8.
Wow.
So it definitely goes back a little bit farther than
Just a little bit.
just a year ago. But just in terms of like knowing how to take my art and turn it into a pattern or like apply it to a product, was really what I only discovered like two and a half years ago.
Mhm.
Um, and just the skills of like getting it to repeat seamlessly and all those things. Um, but I think in terms of my biggest transformation, probably just the confidence
Mm.
that comes with that. Because I remember many in office hours with you of being like, Elizabeth, I made this new art and I just feel like it's terrible. I started out as, I think, that sort of stereotypical artist mentality of like we worry whether that art is good enough.
Yeah.
We do, and I don't know, I don't think that ever really truly goes away.
No.
But
Well, I should say, someone asked me this recently too. They were like, "Do you ever feel?" It's going to be in a podcast interview, but she was like, "Do you ever feel imposter syndrome or anything like that?" And I was like, "Yeah, of course." And then the same thing of what you're saying is like, "Yeah, it never goes away." But then I should say it's a little bit different because you think, "Oh, it's not good enough," but then you're like, "Well, what's not good?" Like it's easier to push out aside. Let's say it comes up, but it's much quicker to just push aside and not worry about after.
yeah, I think but just through the whole past year, the course and just everything after that, it's been, now I really know like what are the steps to get my art out into the world. And like I know what I have to do. And so I think that makes it a lot easier to go forward and have that confidence to send that email.
Right,
And
exactly.
since then, I've had 3 licenses, I think, last year.
That's so good.
Um, 2 for fabric and then 1 for cloth diapers. And so that's a huge confidence boost too when you finally get those yeses after all those emails
Mm-hmm.
and being like, hey, my art is good enough. Like I can do this.
And I really love that, it was for products. I mean, you focused in, I always recommend, choosing a product category, and you chose kids clothing and kids accessories. But I really love that, one of the things that brought you to this industry was your daughter's cloth diapers. And then one of your first licenses was cloth diapers. It's like, you knew what you wanted, you knew why you were interested in this whole industry, and then you were able to make that connection, and to do that within a year and a half of, or a year-ish, a year and a half, 2 years, whatever. That's incredible. So as much as having, as you have started to realize, and as I do tell people, having one license isn't necessarily like, all right, now we're sitting on piles of cash, like we can retire. Clearly that's
You
not
know,
true, unfortunately. um but just having those validations and having that product that has your work on it and being able to put your daughter into that work, is so monumental. So it definitely will push forward all that confidence. And that's the whole thing about confidence, right? It's you you get just enough to get you to the next thing, and then that thing shows you that, hey, this could actually work out, and then you get enough to do the next thing, and reach out to like bigger and bigger, potential clients, and do things more boldly. So I love that.
it just takes finding that first one
Mm-hmm. And
to
people
sort
don't
of
get
push
there,
you.
right, Alyssa? Like I mean, I'm sure you have, artist friends, and we've seen people in various like classes and Instagram and stuff like that. It's like people get stuck before they get to that first one. And it's tricky to continue to have that motivation. Um,
Yeah,
and
it's not easy.
It isn't. It really isn't. And it's something that, I can't give away in a course, like I'm not trying to keep it for myself, but like I've been trying to, like, how do you have this motivation to keep going? And I think so much of it really does stem from confidence. So it's like, as you build your confidence, then you have the motivation that a no isn't a no, forget it, quit the business. A no is a, yeah, okay, so let me ask the next one, or let me ask again in 6 months, or whatever it is. Which I think probably brings us to my next question, which is, what is one piece of advice that you'd offer to a surface pattern designer who is just starting out, who's you 2 years ago saying like, oh my God, I would love to have leggings on my daughter, or whatever?
Yeah, it definitely, my advice is to just, it's that keep going. You can't just give up.
Mm-hmm.
Um, if this is what you want, you have to keep going, and it can take a while, but if you keep sending emails and you keep going to the next one, just brush off the unopened emails, brush off the no's, and keep
Mm-hmm.
going, someone's going to say yes eventually.
Mm-hmm. I love that. I love that. And it does, it takes time. We see things on social media, that is like, everything feels like a quick transformation on social media, because I mean, think of reels. It's like, I'm doing a little sketch, clap, it's a full design, clap, it's a card that's been published, like everything feels very instantaneous for other people when we look at social media, but this is a really slow growth industry for most designers. The few that have made really quick progress of like 2 years, a year, that's really an outlier. So I agree. I mean, I totally agree. It's like, keep going, keep working for it. One thing that I really loved, that you shared on your Instagram, on your social media, was, I mean, I like your social media anyways. You always are sharing great stuff. But at the end of last year, you were sharing about your numbers and your yearly roundup, and you shared about all the emails that you sent out last year. And kind of, can you talk to me about that post and how that came about?
Yeah, I was seeing like a bunch of designers on Instagram post like end of year, here's everything that I did this year, sort of like how my business was this year, but it's always about like income and expenses and breakdowns of like licensing versus freelance versus print on demand. And like all that is super interesting and helpful information, but I've never seen anyone talk about how many emails we send, which I
Mm.
feel like is actually the bulk of what we're doing. Like we're not
Pitch
constantly
emails, specifically
drawing all
pitch
day,
emails.
every day. We're sending emails,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
really, is sort of what gets you that ability to move forward. Like you can draw and draw and draw, but if you're not putting it out into the world on your social media and sending it to art directors, like nothing's gonna happen unless you
No,
get
it's not.
very, very lucky.
Unless somebody's like
Um,
hacks into your hard drive, how can, if you're not putting it out into the
yeah,
world?
exactly.
Yeah.
So what I had done was I counted up every company that I emailed last year, and it
With
was
your artwork.
78.
78 with your artwork. Okay,
Yeah,
awesome.
it was 78 companies. That's not 78 emails, because
Okay.
some of those I emailed 2, 3 times following up. Some even possibly 4 if they were in like the first few that I like the first handful of pitches that I sent might have gotten up to a 4th email
Mm-hmm.
across last year. So that's possibly like 300 to 400 emails.
Mm. Yeah,
And I got 22 companies that responded back in any form. And
right.
most of those were the no's, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I can see how that like it does get discouraging when you're just starting out, but again, you just keep pushing through, and you have to know that it's not about you.
Mm-hmm.
Like maybe one example I remember you telling me at some point is like maybe an art director needed something blue and you sent them purple.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's not always you, and you just have to sort of brush it aside and send the next one.
Yeah. Yeah. It's true. At first, it the first few years, there are a lot of emails. The first, I mean, yeah, 3 or 4 years. And that's like the major hump. It's not that business gets easier as you keep going, because there's new challenges and there's new things to figure out, and there's always different ways to grow and directions. But I think, as artists, we come into this because we love to draw and we want to see cute things in the world. And that like admin part of it, the part that is showing off your services, the part that's actual marketing, is the most intimidating part. And that's the reason that I talk about it in Start Your Surface Pattern Business. That's the reason that I have a course on it, because there are a lot of courses on how to make cool art and how to design things. But that's only 50%. That's, I would say that's 50% of your business, but you don't even have a business if you don't have any marketing, if you don't have the other 50%, right? So if you don't have the marketing, if you don't have the get your work out there, if you don't have the confidence, if you don't have the ability to, find and put yourself out there 78 emails at a time, a year or whatever, then yeah, it's going to be a lot tougher go, and it's going to be pretty tricky to make those connections and get that paid work. And that's why people, I think, do get stuck, because it is a numbers game, and we hear that a lot, but actually making the numbers, doing the work like you've been doing, is not something that everyone can do. So that's one reason that I really love following your journey, and the reason that I wanted to talk to you, because truly, I mean, I hope I've said this to you before, but truly, you really work very hard, and you are really, like, you're pushing through, and it's working, right? It's starting to have the traction. You had 3 licenses last year. This year we're we're just finishing February. I know you've had some freelance work. I'm not sure if you've had any other deals going, but you'll start to have repeats from the people that you've already worked with before. So that's a few less emails. You still need to get new clients, but the traction starts to build, and slowly the momentum gets going. And then you have the repeat clients, and then you can say in your next pitch, I've already worked with a cloth diaper company, I'd love to work with yours, or I already have experience in the children's wear industry, I can't wait to, help you out with your product. And that starts to make a more interesting pitch to people, and, traction gets going. So I'm so excited to see where, as things continue.
I think my only real secret is that I've embraced my stubbornness, I think.
You have to, you really have to. I love that. I think that's a bit of a secret as well, right? Or a piece of advice. It's like, if you're stubborn, really dig your heels in. Because that's a little bit of what, I don't know if I'd term myself stubborn, but I definitely, well, I'm sure, look, ask my husband, I'm sure he might, but I wouldn't necessarily say that's like a defining factor of me, but I would say that, like, certainly, like, confidence, and not, have it, because I worked in-house, I was never worried about my skill set. So I was lucky to not have to really fight with, like, maybe my work just isn't good enough, because I was like, no, it's fine. It's good enough. It might not be the best work. I can see other people who do better work than me, but it's good enough. So what's the other piece? What am I missing? Right. And that's what is persistence, and, moving forward and finding new opportunities, etc. So
I think there's always going to be someone's work who you think is better than yours.
oh, always 100.
Always. But if you just keep going, it doesn't matter. Your art will find its spot in the world somewhere.
Exactly.
You just have to send the right person in that email.
Yes, get your work out there, pitch your work. I love that. Well, thank you so, so much for joining me today, Alyssa. I can't wait to show people your work. I'll include it in the video, and check out the links below, everyone, to follow Alyssa on Instagram and to see her art. You can buy it you're on Spoonflower, and where else are you?
I'm on Spoonflower and Raspberry Creek Fabrics right now.
Awesome.
I have a couple prints that are launching tomorrow with a new brand called Natural Roots Fabric.
Awesome. So if you're a maker and you're watching this and you need some cute fabric, definitely check out Alyssa's work. It's awesome.
Thank you for having me.
Ready for Surface Pattern Clients is back. Join me at my free workshop, where I'll be covering 5 ways to jumpstart your surface pattern career, including an easy mindset shift to get you going, a way to determine if your art is ready for products today, my favorite destinations for finding paying surface pattern gigs, how big companies find freelance help, and the technique that got me and my students new clients. Join at elizabethsilver.com/workshop, and I'll be kicking off the spring Start Your Surface Pattern Business Enrollment April 3rd. So join us for this free workshop and learn more about Start Your Surface Pattern Business as well.